All right, thanks for tuning into this video. Today we are going to be talking about Parker Dewey and specifically micro internships here at NSC. All right, so of course we're going to talk a little bit about what actually is Parker Dewey and what micro internships are. We'll also talk about who can apply and how you can apply. So for context, Parker Dewey is an organization that connects new talent, aka students, with companies through micro internships. This allows students to gain valuable hands-on experiences that they can apply to their future careers and supports companies in completing projects they may not have the time or resources to complete. And it also allows them to expand their potential hiring pool. So as a company, Parker Dewey manages a micro internship system by working with employers, and they actually vet and approve all the positions, and they also serve as the payment source. So they are sort of like a third party that our career services office here at NSC works with. And again, they have their own platform that they post the micro internships to and where students can apply, which we will talk about in a minute. But yeah, just for a little bit of context, that is what Parker Dewey is. And then specifically talking about what actually are micro internships. So a lot of students think of when they hear the word internship as the traditional internship that, typically goes with your academic semester. You may or may not be taking credit for it. It's when it's along the semester, it's about 15 or 16 weeks. But micro internships, again, are a little bit different. So they are still experiential learning opportunities like traditional internships. But unlike traditional internships, they actually only last anywhere between 5 to 40 hours of work. So I believe through Parker Dewey, the average is like 10 to 15 or somewhere between 10 and 20. They typically last between a week and about a month's time. So again, anywhere from 1 week to 4 to 6 weeks instead of the 16. Another really great feature is that they are always paid. So with traditional internships, again, sometimes positions may be paid. They're not always though, especially if you might be interning with a nonprofit or a smaller company. But with micro internships, you are always going to get paid. They're almost always virtual. There are some micro internship opportunities through Parker Dewey that may be face-to-face, but Parker Dewey actually works all over the country with hundreds of different schools and thousands of employers. And so most of their opportunities are virtual so that students can take advantage of working with companies outside of their area where they're living that they may not have had the opportunity to work with before. And so that comes to the last point is that the micro internships that are posted through Parker Dewey do take place at companies ranging from Fortune 500s to small startups. So again, a really great opportunity for students to interact with different companies of different sizes and all over the country that they may not have been able to connect with before or intern with in a traditional sense through those traditional internships during the academic semester. So next, I want to talk a little bit about who can actually apply. So any current student or NSC alumni can apply to micro internships. So they really are meant to be an experiential learning opportunity for all students, whether or not you're a current student or you're an alumni looking to just gain some more experiences or, get a paycheck to kind of keep you going. There are no GPA requirements. There's no major requirements. So they won't say, you need to be a business major or you need to be a math major or something like that. They also don't have any class year requirements, so they won't say we only take juniors and seniors, which is something that oftentimes traditional internships will do. They'll say, we typically only take juniors or seniors in their last couple of years of college, just so that they can get that experience right before they go out. But with micro internships, you can apply to them and do them as early as, your first semester as a college student all the way, until you graduate and even after. And then, of course, there's also no course credit requirements with micro internships because they are so short. You wouldn't actually be able to receive any credit here at NSC just because our internship classes typically have a minimum hour requirement of, it depends by class, but 100 hours or above, and micro internships are typically only 40 hours max. But again, that does then leave you the opportunity when you're not taking it for credit to kind of do it on your own time and when you're able to complete a micro internship. Another thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of who can apply is also talking about dreamers. So current students and alumni do not need to have DACA or TPS to apply to micro-internships. The micro-internships through Parker Dewey are structured as independent contract work. And this goes back to one of the first slides that I mentioned, where Parker Dewey actually is the one who pays the student and not the employer that you are interning through. So essentially what happens is that when employers post micro-internships on this site through Parker Dewey, when a student successfully completes a micro-internship, that money goes to Parker Dewey, and then Parker Dewey then sends it to the student. And this, again, is actually really advantageous for students because then again, it is structured as independent contract work, which essentially is just kind of like a one-off, right? Like you're paid one time to do one task or one project. And so with independent contract work, students, again, don't need to have DACA or TPS in order to get paid as an independent contractor. You also don't need to have work authorization. So again, with traditional, jobs, or if you are in an internship that's paid, they'll ask you to fill out some of those I-9 documents, which will ask you, for like a passport, a social security number, stuff like that. But with independent contract work, you can supply, I believe, a social security number. But the other thing that you can do is you can supply them with an ITIN, which is an individual tax identification number. And essentially all this does is it just signals to them that when they pay you the money, you then have this tax identification number. So if you need to pay any applicable taxes on it, you can, through the IRS and all that stuff. And you can apply for an ITIN. It's actually free to do in order to become an independent contractor through Parker Dewey. And once you apply for an ITIN, if you find other independent contract work on your own, you can also use this ITIN as well. A couple of things to note for students is that you may already have an ITIN if your parents have ever filed income taxes and claimed you as a dependent. You could find that out if you have an ITIN in your parents' tax forms or if you talk to them. An ITIN is individual to each person, and so you wouldn't be able to use your parents' ITIN number, but again, if they've claimed you as a dependent and filed taxes, you may have one, they may have already created one for you, or you may already have one on your own. And if you know that you already have an ITIN, just making sure that you find out if it's expired so that you can renew it. And we'll actually go to the website that I have at the bottom, and we have some links that will talk about how you can find out if your ITIN's expired and how to renew it. Also, generally just how to obtain one if you've never had that before. And also another thing that I like to tell students too is that applying for an ITIN can be scary. It may feel like you are having to quote unquote out yourself if you don't have work authorization or DACA when you apply for an ITIN. But when you apply for an ITIN, you are doing that through the IRS, which is, the Internal Revenue System, which handles money and things like that. They do not communicate with like the Department of Homeland Security and things like that. And so when you apply for an ITIN, it's not like they send that information over to DHS and say, here are all the people that are applying for an ITIN. So this means that, they don't have work authorization. They don't do that. Really, all they care about is that you are applying for this so that you are paying any applicable taxes as needed, depending on the type of work that you're doing. So that's just another thing to keep in mind when you do get paid as an independent contractor, whether you have work authorization or not. The money that you get being paid from an intern through Parker Dewey, in a micro internship can be taxable. So just something to keep in mind as well, that you would have to report on any, tax returns, things like that you would do. So next we'll talk a little bit about how to apply. So all you have to actually do is go to the webpage. So you can go to parkerdewey.nsc.edu. Or if you go to the Career Services Center's main webpage on the NSC website, there's actually a Parker Dewey section, and it will take you to the webpage. And I will actually show you quick what that looks like. So I will pull over my other screen here. So this is our Career Services main webpage, which you can find on nsc.edu. But if you scroll down, you will see the section here about Parker Dewey Micro-Internships, which essentially is talking about everything that I've kind of already explained to you. It gives you a few more videos if you're interested in watching, but the link is right here. Otherwise, you can also just type in the URL that I mentioned, so parkerdewey.nsc.edu, and it will take you to our Parker Dewey landing page right here. So again, this is all just explaining information that I've already kind of talked about with you. Again, how students and alumni are eligible to apply for micro-internships. Again, the section on Dreamers, this is where you can find the links and information as well. If you need to find out if you have an ITIN, if it's expired, or if you need to renew it here. And if you don't have an ITIN, there are some really great resources here as well. These links that talk about how you can obtain one. One is a guide and one is actually a video that walks you through the process, which is really helpful. And this is where you would go to then apply for micro-internships and create an account. So the next thing then that we'll talk about is after you go to the web page, again, if you've never logged into Parker Dewey, you will have to sign up. So when you sign up for an account through Parker Dewey, you'll have to input your name and cite your email and password. You can use any email and password that you want. It doesn't have to be your NSC, student email account. You can use a personal one if you like, up to you, but you do have to actually create an account. It only asks you a few questions. It takes about 2 minutes. The other thing is that when you first sign up, you'll be prompted to create your profile. So it'll ask you to fill out some general information, including information about your previous experiences, if you've had other jobs, internships, volunteering, stuff like that, where you're currently going to school and your major. And it'll also ask you if you want to upload a resume and any other documentation. So it gives some examples such as like a writing sample or design work, depending on the types of micro-internships you might want to apply for. This is all information. I believe most of it you can bypass when you first initially sign up if you just want to go and take a look around the web page. But I would encourage you at some point to go back and add in this information. And that's why I have this star here, because it's a really important point. When you actually go to apply for micro-internships, employers can see your profile. And so this is going to kind of act again, almost as like your resume. You can, of course, upload a resume so that they can see that, but it's really important to fill out as much information as you can, just so that employers are seeing your previous experiences and are going to be able to tell, if you're qualified and how you will stand out against other candidates as well. Because if you think about if a few people or a few students apply to a micro-internship and one has absolutely nothing on their profile and another one has really filled it out and taken the time to go through and talk about their different experiences and what they've done in the past. Again, as an employer, from your perspective, you can consider which one you would maybe more than likely would ask to be your micro-intern. So then after you've signed up and you've created your profile and gone through all those steps, the next thing you can do is you can actually search for opportunities. So I will pull back up the web page really quick. I already have an account. So I will just log in. I'll show you the profile really quick, which is what I was talking about. Obviously, I don't have too much in here just because I'm not a student and I'm not applying for micro-internships, but you can kind of see what your profile would look like. So you have kind of your basic information. You can put your experiences in here, your education. You can upload a resume if you like. These are the other documents that I mentioned, and then demographic information if you want to fill that out, but you absolutely do not have to. Oops. Here we go. All right. So again, after you log in and do your profile and you want to start applying for micro-internships, here's kind of what it will look like. So again, you can sort by micro-internships that might be in person or remote. Again, most of them will be remote. I think it's, 95% or more of the ones that are posted on here will be virtual experiences. But again, if you are looking for something on site, you can also look for that. You can search, by ones that were just recently updated or ones that are about to come due and are going to close. But again, you can just kind of look through these and see what kind of projects might be beneficial for you to gain new skills and consider, as you continue your education at NSC, or even if you're an alumni, what new skills you might be looking to gain, or maybe even looking at the company and seeing if that's a company that maybe you're just interested in and getting a foot in the door, anything like that. So if I just click on, we'll just look at one as an example, this Project 80 from Apex Systems. So you'll see here, it tells you that it's remote. It tells you a start date. Obviously, this one has already passed, but it will tell you the job description and talking about what they will have you do. It will also give you a little company description, just kind of about who they are and what their mission is. It'll also give you an estimated due date, as well as estimated hours, how many hours they think it will take you to complete this project, as well as the payment. So if you look at this and this is something that you're interested in and you think you have the qualifications to complete the task that they're doing, you would click on apply for this project. And then these are just some supplemental questions that every micro internship will ask you. I believe at minimum they'd have 2 and at maximum they'd have 4. All of them will ask the same opportunity. Why do you think we should select you for this micro internship? And then they can also add in some other ones as well. So this one is asking you, of course, to describe your software programming experience, because that's what this one is really about. It's about interactive software programs. So just something to keep in mind. You will have to answer these. These are quote unquote, short answer questions, but you do want to be thoughtful in how you answer them. So, one sentence isn't really going to suffice. Employers do want to see that you've taken the time to think about why they should select you, as well as looking at experience or really any of the other questions that they're asking. So making sure that you're writing, a good paragraph, maybe anywhere between 4 to 8 sentences would suffice, I believe. But again, you have to answer these questions in order to submit. And then of course, if you have completed your profile and, answered as many questions or filled in as many experiences and other facts about yourself as possible, is going to give you the best opportunity, or I guess the best chance of landing a role. And so again, you'll just see they have so many different micro internships posted at any time, usually a few hundred, again, ranging from small startups all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. And you could favorite them as well. So if you're ever interested, or if you need to just look at some and then you want to come back and think about it, again, you can just go back to your favorites. But of course, again, here's another one. This one has a little bit more of a lengthy job description. So this one's with social media marketing. Let's see, this one actually lays out, they're asking you to do about 5 hours a week. This one has estimated about 40 hours. This is more typical. The last one we looked at was 75 hours, isn't as typical for these micro internships. But again, and you'll see the payment. Another thing to note is that with Parker Dewey, payments do come in one lump sum. So when, like it says right here, once the project is completed and you've completed everything to the employer's satisfaction, you will get your payments. And I believe you can get paid through direct deposit, which is typically a lot quicker. So when you put in a bank account, or you can also get a check as well. But again, it will come in one lump sum. You won't get it paid hourly. It all comes to you once you have completed the project and turned in anything that you need to turn into the employer. All right, another thing to note too is that you can begin applying at any time for micro internships, and you can apply to as many positions that you like, really at any time of the year. Again, this is what is really great about micro internships, is that they are these shorter term experiences. So you don't have to wait until the fall, the spring, or the summer semester to start these. If you feel like you have a little bit of extra time for a few weeks and you want to make some money and gain some experience, definitely apply for some of these micro internships. Again, once you complete one micro internship, you can continue to apply for them. It's not like you apply for one and you complete one and it's done. You can keep applying as many times as you want to different projects if you're looking to make money or gain more experience. You can also apply to multiple positions at a time. And technically, as a student, you could complete multiple micro internships at one time if you apply and are selected to complete those projects. Of course, just keeping in mind what the project is like, how many hours they're requiring, and of course, taking into account your classes and any other personal commitments that you have going on so that you don't overwhelm yourself. Because again, these are paid opportunities and employers do expect you to complete them in the time frame that they ask, and do good work in completing those projects. Of course, sometimes things come up and you just have to be open and communicative with the employer if you're not able to complete it in time. But again, these are paid opportunities and they are really showcasing your skills to these potential employers. And can get your foot in the door. And so it's best to make sure that you are taking the time to think about how much you can commit to, when you can commit your time to doing these micro internships and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that is all I have for this video today. If you ever have any questions about the Parker Dewey platform, how micro internships work, or just need a little bit more context or are confused about any of the topics that I mentioned, feel free to reach out to the Career Services Center, and we are more than happy to answer anything that you might have related to Parker Dewey and micro internships. Again, this is a really great opportunity, and we encourage you to log onto the system and take a look at some potential opportunities to gain your skills and help build your resume and also get paid in the process. Thank you.